Well, the great Boomer Esiason, nice enough to join. I was in college playing basketball in Indiana when you were at Maryland, and I don't know why this was, but the newspaper, the Indianapolis Star or the Bloomington Herald Telephone, put a big picture of you up. And I remember my roommate, kid named Uwe Blopp, German kid,
I remember that
"Hey,
name.
Danny," he goes, "Hey, Danny, that guy German?" I said, "Why?" He goes, "Oh, man, he's really white with white hair." I go, "I don't know. I don't know." So,
Well,
but hey,
up
welcome,
Uwe Blopp,
and thanks.
we can tell him, my pleasure, Dan. We can tell him I'm half German, half Norwegian. So there you have it.
There you go. He was always looking for other Germans. His view of German would be he came from Germany and is playing in college, that kind of thing. But anyway, I don't know why I felt the need to tell you that, but I did. Hey, you did something that we all do, and, all of a sudden you're catching a little backlash. You called that Gu lady insufferable. That's one way to put it. Traitor might be the other. And you caught backlash on that because she said she was a pretty woman. Here's my theory, Boomer. Can't we just lighten up once in a while in sports? Can't we just do that, or do we have to have everything in Velcro, everything in bubble wrap?
Well, unfortunately, Dan, you and I sit in front of a microphone and we're paid to give opinions about different things that are happening. And so we come out of the Olympics and I find that Eileen Gu, I found her post-participation press conferences to be insufferable. And I do think she's attractive. That's why she's a model. I do think that she's bright. That's why she graduated from Stanford. And the fact that she speaks 2 languages makes her a hell of a lot smarter than I am. And at 22 years of age, I was not making $25 million. But that doesn't mean I have to root for her. And the fact that I found her insufferable in many of those post-event interviews was because of all the other athletes that I was rooting for who were wearing the American flag, all speaking about their coaches, their teammates, and what it took for them to get there. And I really felt like there was a real sense of humility associated with those athletes. And I'm not backing down from anything that I said. What I said was she was attractive, she was bright, and she was insufferable. So that's how I felt about it, and I haven't changed my mind since.
Well, I've been called 2 of the 3, never the attractive, maybe not even bright, but to that point, people get mad because you said attractive. Chris Budden, a sideline reporter for ESPN, said, well, the next time I start an interview with somebody whose opinion or I don't particularly like, I'm going to say, well, this man is attractive, and then give my opinion. I wrote 2 things. One, a guy would think that's great. Like a guy would be like, sign me up. Yeah. And 2, nobody really would give a shit about your opinion. And she blocked me. She got mad. But that's true. A guy wouldn't care if a woman said, hey, the very attractive Boomer Esiason, I can't stand him. I mean, no guy would give a rat's ass about that.
Well, in the case of Eileen Gu, I saw a headline yesterday that the very beautiful Eileen Gu was on the walkway in Milan for the Milan fashion show. So I guess in that vein, you can call her beautiful. But I mean, I wasn't trying to insult her in any way, shape, or form, other than the fact that as the way she came off with her interviews. So I mean, it's a weird deal. It's like she wants to have it both ways. Like she's not politically involved in any way. I haven't seen any negative things that she has said about the United States of America. As a matter of fact, she says a lot of positive things about growing up here, being born here, going to school here. She also says that when she's in China, she feels Chinese because of her grandmother and because of her mother. There's no father to speak of, so she was raised by her mom and her grandma. So she lives in this kind of dual world, and she's having it both ways. And she doesn't want to get dragged into the sewer pit of politics. I don't think, because I haven't really seen anything that has come from her. So she's living her best life. She's making a lot of money. And like I said, she has it both ways. She can, for some reason, and I don't understand this, maybe you can tell me, Dan, but maybe somebody else smarter than me can explain this. I looked into all of this and trying to find the loophole of how some people are able to play in the Olympics for, maybe their birth country or their country of their parents' birth. And it seems like if you do that for China, you are only allowed to have one former citizenship, and that is Chinese citizenship. They do not allow dual citizenship. At least that's what every place I look has told me. So this is a kind of interesting story. And I think she does want to keep it kind of on the low down and not really make a big deal about it.
Well, it's been said, rumored, alleged, whatever word you want to use, that she renounced her United States citizenship to go to China for exactly what you researched and took tens of millions of dollars to do it. And Alyssa Liu was offered the same kind of deal, and she said no. So whether that's true or not, I don't see the paperwork, but that's what a lot of people are alleging.
Well, I mean, it's interesting. You talk about Alyssa Liu. I've interviewed at least 20 Olympians, including Alyssa Liu, leading into this Winter Olympics, and she couldn't have been sweeter and kinder and just humble, and the humility that exudes from her is something that I think we all could respect and get behind. And like I said, she's an American athlete, and she chose to obviously skate for our country, and she wins gold medal. That's who I'm rooting for. I'm not rooting for any other athlete in the world other than American athletes. There are great stories out there. I've interviewed a lot of different ones. But, when we're in the world of sports, it's competition. And the Olympics brings out patriotism in every team. That's what it's about. You're playing for your country. You're fighting for your country, whatever you want to call it. And that's one of the things that I appreciated about Alyssa is because, she really loves being from here, understands her father's plight when he was there in Tiananmen Square. And that's why she's such a great representative as a gold medalist.
Hey, Boomer, speaking of all that, what'd you make of let's go first positive, the incredible emotion of the USA hockey team? The women were great. And again, I feel like you got to say that now, but I'm just sticking with the men here. What'd you make of, there are a lot of comparisons between, 1980. Then it was the Soviet Union that was being a pain in the ass. Now we seem to have a little conflict with Canada. You got a really young guy scoring a goal. You got a goalie like Jim Craig. All of a sudden he's standing on his head. What'd you make of all of that and the patriotism? I'm going to go positive first. That came with all that.
Well, you see that flag over my shoulder, so it really touched my heart. And people say, Boomer, we understand you're a patriot. They listen to me every day here in New York, and they know where I come from and where I stand on that flag behind me. I have so much gratitude for the people that have gotten to us to our 250th birthday, including my own father, who was stuck in Europe for 16 months from 1944 to 1946, and my uncle, who was on the USS Nevada. And I've taken my kids to Normandy. I've taken them to the USS Arizona Memorial out in Hawaii. My kids understand the sacrifices that have been made for that flag. So when I see this hockey team accomplish something that they haven't been able to do for 46 years and then wrap themselves in that flag and then give thanks to our military, our first responders, I'm like, this is exactly how I would want my son to act if he were ever in that situation. So I loved every minute of it. I cried when they brought out Johnny Gaudreau's jersey. And by the way, if you follow me on X, I watched all the women's games as much as I did the men's games. And I congratulated the women after they won their gold medal. And I was so happy for Hillary Knight, the captain of the women's team. The night before that gold medal game, she got engaged to her partner. Everybody celebrated it. She gets the game tying goal, 6-on-5 late in the game against Canada. And then, of course, they go on and beat Canada in a 3-3 overtime as well. So, and the men's team actually stayed in the Olympic Village, just like the women's team did. They didn't move to a 5-star hotel like the Canadian hockey players did. And maybe that was the difference. Maybe that's why they were able to win. Maybe that's why they were able to come together around a unbelievable goaltending performance by Connor Hellebuck to be able to win that gold medal and then go on and party and basically celebrate the way they did. I would have done the same thing.
Hell yes, I would have done the same thing. And I like McAfee picking up the tab. I mean, I think it's great.
I think it's awesome. I thought it was great.
Right? I mean, That's what I would have done. I did that when we beat Purdue in basketball. Hell, I'm going nuts. We're downtown. You know what I mean?
Hey, we beat North Carolina a couple times in football, baby. I'll tell you, Route 1 at Maryland was pretty packed back then.
That's right. That's what I have a theory. I don't give a damn who the president is. Josh Pate's catching hell. If I got a chance to sit down with the president on this show or any show, or I get an invite to the White House, my ass is on the first plane to go. I cannot understand. Maybe you can tell me, but I cannot understand backlash for, number one, accepting a phone call from the president. Number two, Kash Patel invited in. They're having a beer. I would have done the same damn thing. And then number three, all the backlash for going to the White House. People in the Atlantic are saying, well, they've lost the room. My ass, they lost the room. Anyway, I don't mean to give you an answer, but what do you make of all that? Help me understand that. Why the backlash?
Well, first of all, I don't know if you know this. Kash Patel is from Long Island, from where I am. He is a huge hockey sycophant. He loves the New York Islanders, a son of which my son-in-law used to play for them and now works for them. So he loves hockey. So it's pure. I mean, he was there supporting the hockey team both as a private citizen and I would imagine as obviously as the FBI director, as an official from the U.S. government. So I wasn't bothered by any of that. And of course, there's going to be backlash because he's a political person. They're going to be throwing politics back and forth. So none of that really bothered me. And believe me when I say it, he can handle it because that's why he's got that job. As far as, all the other negative stuff that has come out of some of these things, it seems like people just don't like the United States of America. I don't know why. I mean, this is the greatest country in the world, as Jack Hughes said on many of occasions, and so did the Kachuk brothers. And I agree. I mean, I was a guy that grew up, like I said, with a father who was a World War II veteran. My mother died when I was 7. We had one bathroom in the house. And if I didn't live in this country, I don't know if I would have ever had the opportunities that were given to me because I worked hard for it. And it got me here to where I am today. And I am so grateful for that. And I'm so grateful for the men and women who lay their lives on the line to make sure that we have these opportunities. So I thought it represented everything that I wanted it to represent. And anybody who was going to be throwing back or shade at it, Dan, as far as I'm concerned, their opinions do not matter to me.
Yeah, I always say what I used to tell my kids. You're mad at me? Go over there in the corner. Just go and let me know when you're not mad at me anymore. You're upset? Okay, good. Go to the corner. Come back when you're – I used to tell my players that. Like, hey, man, just go over there. You're playing – we'll figure it out. Were you surprised? I got to tell you, and I'm very cynical, and our show gets political, so I understand the backlash. Politics is a absolute freaking cesspool, as you said, in terms of this. But I will admit – when watching Hughes and those kids and what they did, I was surprised that the backlash was so severe from the left. I really was. And I don't get surprised much.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Why would you be surprised, especially if you have a president who appears to be America first? And it's all about America. It's all about, giving opportunities to Americans and making sure Americans, live a certain way. We have a certain culture here, and you'd like everybody to assimilate to that culture and really make the very best of themselves. When my grandparents came here and leaving Germany and leaving Norway, Sweden, this is one of the reasons they came here was to give opportunity to their family and to leave oppression where they thought that they didn't have a chance. And my family is the perfect example of making something by coming here to this great free country of ours. So how people manufacture the negativity is beyond me. I try, if President Biden would have invited me to the White House, believe you me, I would have went. I would have respected the position of the president. I would have respected the White House. I would have respected our Constitution. I would have respected everything that is great about our country. So anybody that's sending backlash or shade toward the American men's hockey team for doing what they did, obviously just doesn't get it.
Yeah, I know. And it's amazing to me. And it came as soon as it happened. Like, what are you doing? I don't know. Maybe surprise is the wrong word, but it just was like, shut the fuck up. I mean, what are you
Just anyway. More frustration than anything else, Dan. Just more frustration than anything else.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like, man, don't you like a good time? I like a good time. That's a good time, man. Hey, Combine is here, and I live in Indianapolis and cover the Colts. And when Daniel Jones was going, all my guys, in my ear, we're with Fox, so we've got my New York guys are in my ear. Water's going to find its level. He sucks, blah, 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 blah. Colts talking about an extension. What do you think? Where are you at with Daniel Jones and the Colts?
Well, I was a fan of Daniel when he was here in New York, but he got hurt too many times, and that's what really derailed him here in New York. And when he got hurt, the team, faltered, and then the next thing you know, they're firing a coach. And that poor guy had to go, I think, through four offensive systems as a young quarterback in the brightest of lights, under the brightest of lights. So Daniel's a really good guy. He's highly respected within the locker room. But again, this year it was the same thing. When he got hurt and he blew out his Achilles, we came in the next morning and it was like, man, Daniel Jones just cannot catch a break. And part of your legacy and your greatness as a player is being available and being on the field. And I know that Chris Ballard likes Daniel. Hell, I like Daniel. I love him. I'd love my daughter, like if she was going to choose like a guy to marry, that would be the guy. But the thing is that the injury factor is real, and sometimes you get that reputation, and you got to be really careful. So I would think that they think that he's going to come back for the season, Dan. I would think there's going to be some sort of compromise contract. There has to be, because they cannot go out long term with him with a big signing bonus and a lot of guaranteed money, just due in part to his injury history.
Yeah, hey, the narrative seems to be, I'm going to move it around a little bit, that your team, the Bengals, they're failing Joe Burrow. Now, do you buy that?
He's another one that has too many injuries. I think they've tried to do everything they possibly can to keep Joe Burrow happy. Not only number one, paying him, but also paying his wide receivers. You can't pay everybody under a salary cap situation. And, the NFL is very strong about that. And some teams have more money than others and are willing to spend money in different ways to spread it out. The Bengals aren't one of those teams. They're more like the Bears. They're more like the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's how they run their team. The Cardinals, they're a small market team. It's a small market ownership, and it's always been that way. So I think that they've tried to appease Joe Burrow as best they can. But again, for him, much like Daniel Jones, he's got to stay on the field. They have all their money invested in offense. And if the most important piece of that offense is not on the field for 10 games, they're probably going to lose 8 out of those 10 games. And they're not going to make the playoffs. So this is what's happened in Cincinnati. So I don't really necessarily know that I want to hear Joe Burrow be bitching about anything. I would just want him to be quiet and play football and stay healthy, because I think if he does, then they're going to be a playoff team.
I got a swear jar here. I dropped an F-bomb. I put $1 in. I'm Catholic, and I gave up swearing for Lent. You can see it's pretty fun. I just thought of that. You know what? I dropped an F-bomb right there, so I got to – nobody knows the Jets better than you. Is it you tell me, please tell me, what is it? Is it Woody Johnson? Is it we play in New Jersey? There's a jinx. What is it that makes this organization – be the Jets, which is a verb, or an adjective.
Well, yes, it is. Well, here's the thing. I tried to talk my college roommate, Frank Reich, out of taking the offensive coordinator job. I'm like, Frank, are you sure you want to do this? And to him, it's a calling. He thinks he can really make a difference. And that's what I love most about Frank, that give him any quarterback, he'll go out and make it work somehow. And I think that's what Aaron Glenn, the head coach, is actually really counting on right now. But yeah, ownership is a big part of it. Ownership is a big part of any professional sports team, as we know. If you got good, solid ownership, they have the right leadership in place, then they're going to give you the best chance to win. Now, I will say, Woody Johnson probably gets a bad rap because everybody thinks he meddles way too much. But if it came down to spending money, and you just looked at how much money he has spent over the last 10 years, I would say he's got to be at the top 5 in terms of trying to win. It's just that there's so much negativity around this team, and unfortunately it falls at the feet of the owner.
Mendoza, the best quarterback in this draft by far. Is he the number one pick? We're going to see it traded. Where you at with Tom Brady and the Raiders?
I think they take him. I think they keep him, and they should. And pairing him with Clint Kubiak makes a lot of sense. He played in the same type of offense at Indiana. You saw him up close and personal, about 30, 35 throws a game, play action passing, standing tall in the pocket. If he needs to run, he's obviously athletic enough that he can make plays on his own, much like Jackson Dart here in New York. I think he's clearing away the number one quarterback. I would take him number one if I needed a quarterback like the Raiders need desperately. And I love the fact that they hired Clint Kubiak as their head coach. And if that young man gets drafted by them, which I do believe he will be, that's going to be the perfect pairing because, he's also an older guy. And I think he's a little bit more mature. He's a little goofy, which is fine. But I think that Clint Kubiak can really make something of him. And I think that would be a great spot for him.
Last couple things before I let you go. What kind of impact do you think Tom Brady is going to have on the Raiders organization? It's easy to say he won 7 rings and everything's going to turn out great, but that's not necessarily always the case. We saw with Jordan in ownership. What kind of impact, Tom Brady?
Well, the first thing that he did was he got his college roommate, Spytek, hired as the general manager. So that's pretty influential, if you ask me. And I do think that Mark Davis does listen to him. And I think that Spytek does listen to him. I mean, I would listen to him. He's a resource. And, he wasn't a first overall pick like Michael Jordan was, or Michael was third, but, a first round pick. Yeah. Tom had to work his way all the way up from being a late round pick. So there's something to that. And I think that if you put Mendoza in a room with Tom Brady, I think Mendoza soaks all of it up and has just this incredible amount of respect for what Tom has accomplished as an owner. So I think that could be a huge impact for that young man. But we've already seen that Tom Brady's trying to have it both ways again. He's trying to be an owner and he's trying to be an announcer, which puts him in a very precarious situation. I couldn't imagine myself being in that situation, but I guess if you win, 7 or 8 Super Bowls and you are an MVP and you make the money that you make, you pretty much can do whatever you want.
That's fascinating to me. That really is fascinating. I don't know how you can possibly do that. I don't know why does the league say that? Just simply because it's Tom Brady? That's it?
Yeah.
I mean, you're Tom Brady. We'll do whatever the hell you want to do. I mean, that's all we got.
Right. And by the way, remember, the other big partner in this is Fox. So Fox is paying him $37.5 million a year. Good for Tom Brady. It's great that he can get that much money. But Fox uses him in different ways and different avenues to be able to recoup some of that money. And, if you are an advertiser on Fox and Tom Brady's doing your game, that's worth every dollar that they're paying him. So, he's a great representative of the league. I'm a huge Tom Brady fan. I thought his broadcasting got 1,000 times better this year. I thought he was so much more relaxed. I thought he and Kevin Burkhardt really became a real team this year for the first time. And I expect him to get better and better at that part of his job over the next few years.
Hey, I really appreciate it. I've kept you too long. Thanks for coming on, Boom. I enjoy you. Like I said, I get up in the morning, I turn you guys on. So thanks for the entertainment.
I appreciate it, Dan. Thanks for having me on. Have a great day.
You too. There he goes, Boomer Esiason.